All right, everybody, here's part two. This is find the slope from 2 points, code ZAC. This is Mr. Kane. Let's get started. And again, we have the SMART score of 81 all the way up to 100. All of the types of problems are basically the same, so we'll do a couple more. Now, the way they're different is twofold. Number one, the numbers are a little bit bigger. And number two, they're adding negatives, and the negatives are where it gets a little tricky. So let's review. We know the slope formula. To find the slope, we have two pairs, a pair of ordered pairs. And we need to use our slope formula, right? We have y2 minus y1 all over x2 minus x1. All right, and just like before, we're going to use the same strategy. Find the larger one because remember, just because this is the first set doesn't make it y2, y1, or y2 and x2, okay? x2, y2. You can pick whichever one you want. I like to find the larger of the y. So 86 minus 13. 86 minus 13. Okay, well, 80 minus 10 is 70, and 6 minus 3 is 3. So this will be 73. And then let's see, the y, since we started here, we need to now start here. So 51 minus, now watch this, ready? 51 minus 19. This is where the big problem happens. It's when you're actually subtracting a negative. Don't forget, when you have two negatives, it's like multiplication. They cancel to a positive. So now you need to add it up, 51 and 19. So that's going to be 70. Okay. So your answer is 70 over 73, or 73 over 70. And I do believe you cannot simplify that. So your final answer here is positive 73 over 70. Okay. Now let's clear this and do a couple more here. Okay. So in this one, we have, okay, remember y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. And I write that every time so that it can stick in your brain, hopefully. So let's look at the larger y. Well, 56 is larger than negative 6. So let's do 56 minus 6. Double negative makes a positive over. Since we started with 56, we need to start with 76. So 76 minus 4 is positive 4. There's two negatives, right? And then we add them up. 56 and 6 is 62. And 76 and 4 is 80. Now, when you get up to the higher level, you also have to simplify a little bit more. What I like to do, if they're both even, I like to start with 2. Okay? So half of 60 is 30, half of 2 is 1. So 30 plus 1 is 31. And then this would be 40. So your final answer is 31/40. Type it on in, fraction sign, enter, good to go. All right, now there's one more type of problem that's really tricky, and I think we might have found it out. We might have found it. All right, one more type of negative problem that's a little tricky. So remember, y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Let's find the larger y. 77 is larger than 3. So let's do 77 minus 3, which is 74. And then negative 65, so negative 65 minus 45. The two negatives become a plus. We have different signs. We have a negative and a positive. And different signs means that you have to subtract them when you're doing adding and subtracting, right? So when you subtract them, you get 20. Now, if we ignore the signs for a second, just look at 65 and 45. Which one of those is a bigger number? 65, right? So the answer is going to be negative 20 because we're going to take the sign of that larger number. It's going to be negative 20. Now, we're not done yet because we still have to simplify. We're going to, because they're even, we're going to start with 2. So half of 70 is 35. Half of 4 is 2. 35 plus 2 is 37. And half of 20 is 10. So negative 37 tenths should be our final answer here. Negative 37 tenths. That's right. Okay. Now I am going to skip this one because I'm looking for the one other problem that's a little tricky. Okay, this one's pretty tricky. So let's start with this one here. It says find the slope of the line that passes through negative 70, negative 32, negative 71, and positive 17. So remember, last one here, y2 minus y1 all over x2 minus x1. I'm going to write down every part of this because this one's pretty tricky. So look at our y's. Which one's larger? 17 is larger than negative 32 because it's positive. So let's do 17 minus 32. And right away, let's just change this to a plus. And since we went 17 this way, we have to go negative 71 and this way. So let's do negative 71 minus 70, which makes it a plus. We'll change that. Okay, now let's add the top. We have 17 plus 32 is 49. Double check that, 49. Yep. And now we have different signs, which means we have to subtract. 71 minus 70 is 1. And let's ignore the signs and look at the numbers. 71 is larger than 70, so it's going to be negative 1. And this will simplify to negative 49. Let's put it in, type it in, and that should do it. All right. So that's how you do that. That's how you find the slope when given 2 points.